Challengers is the newest film directed by Luca Guadagnino, centering basically just around three main characters: Tashi, played by Zendaya, Art, played by Mike Faist, and Patrick, portrayed by Josh O'Connor. I would classify it as a sports drama, tennis being the sport. They are all tennis players, at least at parts of the movie they are. The sport of tennis is shown a lot throughout this movie, as well as the dynamic between these three main characters. If I'm to just sum it up here, layman's terms, whatever you want to call it, Art and Pat are good friends. They're pretty good tennis players. I mean, really good, it seems like, actually. Tashi is like the best tennis player around. Art and Pat both like Tashi. They both go after her, shooting their shots, and stuff happens. It's told in a non-linear storyline, which, if that doesn't register with you at all what that is, if you've seen Pulp Fiction, you've seen a non-linear narrative where the parts of the story are told out of order. This movie basically starts where it ends, which was unexpected, but I think pulled off relatively well, as it's interesting to see kind of how the characters, where their stories, at least in this movie, begin and then how they end up. And, you know, kind of knowing how all the puzzle pieces are going to fit, but not seeing how they fit yet, if that makes any sense at all. But I liked how that structuring of the story was done, and I also did just like how these three main characters were written, and the fact that it is just basically three characters that are in the movie that you focus on was a good decision, because you get a lot of time with them, and they're really not that likable, at least if you ask me. I don't really know who to side with. Like, whenever I think I'm deciding with this person more, then 10 minutes later I'm not really liking them that much. I think by the end I was more so on Patrick's side, but I mean, even then there's gray areas, gray scales there, whatever you want to call it. These characters are flawed, and by that I mean like flawed humans, not in terms of like the writing for them in the movie. No, like they are flawed people who are not perfect, they're not angels, they make mistakes, and I think the film does a good job at portraying that side of them and how they evolve through the film, because it's about 13 years from the earliest portions of the plot are shown to the latest. I feel like I gotta talk about the tennis matches, because that is just something that needs to be discussed. Anytime it's any kind of sports movie, you know, you gotta talk about how was it done, how were these basketball scenes filmed or whatever. I had mixed feelings on the tennis matches when they did appear. On the one hand, I did think there were some pretty cool filming techniques utilized here. At one point, we get the POV of the ball itself as it's going back and forth on the court, hidden from racket to racket. That was pretty cool. I also do love the music during these scenes. I did a reaction to the soundtrack for this film done by Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor, and I liked it then, but I definitely like it more now. It does help to see the movie. It definitely made it better and more understandable, so to speak. Some of my complaints with these tennis matches stem from the audience interaction with the players on the floor. I don't watch tennis, okay? I don't know if this is a normal thing, but the way that they would react, gasp, some of the things that the commentator would say during the match, the way that the players themselves would react, slamming the racket on the court, blurting out profanity, it just felt really over the top and cartoonish to me. And while we're on the topic of things that are maybe a little bit unrealistic, I do just have to comment on the scenes when the characters are younger, based on what it appears to be their age at the end of the film and beginning, actually. They're probably around 18 to 20 years old from the beginning of the story. Normally, I don't have any complaints when actors look a certain way, if they don't look their age, or if they look really different or look considerably older when not that much time has passed, or there's significant changes in weight. That stuff, I don't really care that much about it. It's never really a problem to me. But in this case, it is just a flaw for me, because they look like these actors that are supposed to be, I'm thinking like late teens, look like they're in their mid to late 20s, and just the level of immaturity that they have and childishness, especially with Art and Patrick when they're trying to approach Tashi and trying to talk to her. I mean, they're like kids basically doing this, and they look like they're almost 30. And it looks kind of cheesy seeing these guys that are adults pushing 30, or at least looking like they're pushing 30, that are supposed to be teenagers that are, you know, kind of fumbling this girl, essentially. And I mean, it could be played as a form of endearment or charm, seeing how like nervous they get and stuff. And it's not even just with that too, it's other things too, other scenarios. But it doesn't. It just feels cheesy, it feels unrealistic because of how much older they look. Overall though, I found Challengers to be a pretty entertaining watch with some interesting characters, great performances also from these three main actors. Especially there are some long takes utilized by Guadagnino in some of these scenes, and they really do a good job. The acting is very impressive, especially in those scenes. And for the most part, I dug the non-linear narrative of the story. At times, there would be some random flashback scenes that didn't really seem to serve much of a purpose. Maybe could have trimmed a few minutes off the running time with some of those scenes. But looking back, not that much of an issue, more of a nitpick. I liked the movie Challengers. I was glad I saw it. I overall rated a 7.5 out of 10. What do you think of this movie? If you have seen it, I'm very curious to know your thoughts. There have been like those kind of memes and jokes around certain scenes in this movie, which I've kind of found that entertaining. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about all that stuff too, I guess? That's all I have for this review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you whenever I see you next. All right, peace out.